On the 17th day of the Kurukshetra war, the wind stopped and the dust hung heavy in the red light. The landscape had become a graveyard waiting for its final resident, following the deaths of the great generals Bhishma, Drona, and Jayadratha. Two men now face each other across the silence. Arjuna stands as the chosen agent of divine justice, protected by the gods themselves. Opposite him, Karna represents a life defined by unyielding loyalty to the only side that ever accepted him. Karna fought to validate a life spent enduring the insults of his birth and the sting of social rejection. Duryodhana was his only anchor, the one man who had treated him as a king, and Karna intended to pay that debt by defeating the Pandavas' greatest warrior. Arjuna looked at Karna and saw the faces of the men who had surrounded his son, Abhimanyu, in the Chakravyuha. He saw a warrior who stood by while a trapped boy was slaughtered against every rule of engagement, and he prepared his bow to collect a blood debt. The remaining armies retreated to the edges of the field, clearing a space for these two men to decide if unyielding loyalty to a friend can outweigh the demands of absolute justice. Karna struck first, releasing a barrage of arrows that instantly darkened the sky. When he unleashed the Agnyastra to set the air on fire, Arjuna countered with the Varunastra, sending a torrent of water to swallow the flames. Every divine weapon met an equal, opposite reaction. The true difference lay within their chariots. Arjuna was physically and spiritually steadied by Lord Krishna holding the reins. Karna fought while being constantly undermined by his own charioteer, Shalya, who mocked his chances against the divine prince. Ignoring the taunts, Karna pulled a weapon capable of ending the war in a single strike, the Nagastra. He loaded the serpent arrow and aimed for Arjuna's neck. As it flew, the arrow moved like a living predator, locking onto its target. Krishna saw the lethal threat and acted. Using his divine strength, he pressed his foot down, forcing their chariot deep into the earth. The sudden drop shifted Arjuna exactly enough that the arrow sliced through the space his throat had occupied moments before, knocking away his golden crown. Arjuna was the chosen hero of destiny, yet Karna's talent had just pushed him to the absolute edge of survival. Without Krishna's intervention, the war would have ended with that single shot. Seeing his best shot fail, Karna unleashed a wave of terrifying speed. He pushed Arjuna backward, slicing through his bowstring, shattering his armor, and drawing blood. For a moment, raw skill was overwhelming divine protection. Then the earth itself intervened. Without warning, the left wheel of Karna's chariot plunged straight into the soft mud, trapping the vehicle. The momentum of the attack ground to a sudden halt. This failure manifested an ancient mistake. Years ago, Karna accidentally killed a Brahmin's cow, earning a curse that his chariot would fail in his most desperate hour. Dropping his weapons, he jumped down. Straining to lift the wheel, he was now grounded and exposed. Karna's momentum was not broken by a superior archer, but by the invisible bill of his own past actions finally coming due. Standing in the mud, Karna raised his hand. He demanded that Arjuna halt the attack, invoking the sacred rules of war that forbid striking an unarmed, grounded opponent. Arjuna hesitated, lowering his bow, but Krishna's voice shattered the hesitation. He reminded Arjuna of the moments when Karna chose to ignore those same rules, when Draupadi was publicly humiliated, and when Abhimanyu was ambushed by a mob. Krishna argued that Karna could not claim the protection of a code he helped destroy. Recalling his son's death, Arjuna hardened his resolve. He pulled back his heavy bowstring and loaded the Angelika weapon. He released it, and the glowing arrow struck Karna, ending the duel in a single moment. There was no triumphant horn and no victory cheer. The field fell into a chilling silence. Far away, Kunti wept for the firstborn son she could never claim, while Duryodhana realized he lost the only man who had ever been truly loyal to him. Arjuna secured the victory, but the cost was a lifetime of grief. Karna lost his life, yet his name entered legend, leaving the whole world to endlessly weigh the value of a brilliant life led in the service of an unrighteous cause.